The original base. The so-called hidden foot. Karma-vibhaṅga. The analysis of deeds. Part 4. Cross-section of the Borobudur Temple. Locations of the panels. The location of the original case, the so-called hidden foot. The Karma-vibhaṅga panels. The so-called hidden foot of Borobudur refers to the monument's base level, also known as the Karma-vibhaṅga panels, which depict scenes illustrating the law of karma, how actions lead to specific outcomes. This level was intentionally covered shortly after construction, likely as an engineering solution to strengthen the structure and prevent collapse. Fully uncovering the hidden foot today would endanger the temple's stability, as the encasing stonework is essential to reinforcing the base. In 1890, the base was temporarily disassembled, and Casijan Chepas photographed the panels. These photographs are now displayed in Borobudur Museum, located just north of the temple. After restoration, the base was reinstalled, covering the panels again. Today, only a portion of the southeast corner remains visible to visitors. Karma-vibhaṅga. The deeds and their results. The Karma-vibhaṅga panels at Borobudur offer a rich narrative on the law of karma, demonstrating how good and bad actions shape future outcomes. The panels are divided into 5 key sections, each highlighting specific aspects of karma's workings. Here are the 5 key sections. Health and wealth. Rebirth. Permutations. Unwholesome deeds. Wholesome deeds. Part 4 is dedicated to the section Permutations. Permutations. This section highlights how karma operates in complex ways, producing varied results depending on intention, circumstances, and the nature of the act. It suggests that not all actions lead to immediate or predictable outcomes. Good deeds may be delayed in bearing fruit, while minor misdeeds could have unexpectedly severe consequences. These scenes explore the nuanced interplay of multiple factors that shape karmic outcomes. The first 2 paragraphs and the 4th in this section, which address deeds left undone, appear to have been too abstract for the sculptors to effectively depict. The following 3 panels can be attributed to the 3rd section, though their portrayal lacks the systematic approach seen earlier. It is also possible, of course, that the text the sculptors had to hand omitted some of these teachings. Deeds done that are not accumulated. Herein, what is the deed that, when done, is not accumulated? It is said, whatever deed which once done, leads to being grieved, distressed, reviled, disgusted, confessed, announced and made manifest, which he promises to restrain himself from in the future and not do again. Deeds that are accumulated even when not done. Herein, what is the deed that is accumulated even when not done? It is said, whatever deed which is yet to be completed by way of body. Herein, speaking a word with corrupt mind, and saying, like this I will do to you, i.e., threatening another. Deeds that are accumulated when done. Herein, what is the deed that is accumulated when done? It is said, whatever good deed that is intentional. Panel 106. Giving food leads to rebirth in the sense heavens. On the right, a group of individuals is depicted offering bananas to the monastic seated nearby, symbolizing a virtuous deed destined to yield positive outcomes. Their elevated status is suggested by the umbrellas held above them. The halos encircling the heads of the devas signify that the reward for this virtuous act is rebirth in heaven, where they too are honored and receive offerings of bananas. The tree at the center, accompanied by money bags at its base, may further emphasize the celestial nature of this scene. Panel 107. Giving clothes leads to rebirth in the sense heavens. On the far right, a group of princes is shown bringing clothes to distribute to those in need. exemplifying another virtuous deed with positive consequences. The money bags beneath the tree at the center suggest that the scene on the left represents a heavenly realm. One of the benefactors is seated with numerous money bags before him, symbolizing the wealth accumulated in his new life. As is customary in such depictions, he is surrounded by attendants and respectful visitors. Panel 108. Giving gifts leads to rebirth in the sense heavens. A similar scene unfolds here. A group of nobles is depicted distributing gifts, likely food or fruits, to those in need. The outcome of such generosity is rebirth in a heavenly realm, characterized by comfort, abundant wealth, and the presence of consorts and attendants. Deeds not really done. Herein, what is the deed that is not really done, nor brings any success? It is said, whatever deed is intentionally done, or effected, but in a dream. Hell for a full time. Herein, what is the deed, provided with which a person is reborn in hell, and only falls away after that full hell life is completed? It is said, that deed that is done here and is successful, and through which he goes to hell. That deed which once done, one is not grieved, distressed, reviled, disgusted about, and it is not confessed, announced and made manifest, which he does not promise to restrain himself from in the future, but through which he is exceedingly happy and joy arises. Panel 109. Wrong deeds without repentance lead to rebirth in hell for a long time. This scene depicts individuals engaged in the harmful act of catching and killing fish, with the use of nets prominently shown. Interestingly, the animals on the far right, though untouched, merely signify the wilderness setting. At the center, fishermen are seen carrying away their catch. Given their apparent lack of remorse, they are depicted facing the consequences of their actions, enduring punishment in hell by being boiled alive. A guard, standing by the tub with a club in hand, ensures they cannot escape their fate. Hell for a half-time. Herein, what is the deed, provided with which a person is reborn in hell, and falls away after half a hell life? It is said, that deed that is done here, and is accumulated and through which one goes to hell. That deed which, once done, one is not grieved, distressed, reviled, disgusted about, and it is not confessed, announced and made manifest, which he does not promise to restrain himself from in the future, but through which he is not exceedingly happy and joy does not arise. Hell for a short time. Herein, what is the deed, provided with which a person is reborn in hell, and falls away a short time after rebirth? It is said, that deed that is done here, and is accumulated and through which he goes to hell. That deed which, once done, leads to being grieved, distressed, reviled, disgusted, confessed, announced and made manifest, which he promises to restrain himself from in the future. Not having done it again, he is reborn in hell, and falls away a short time after rebirth. Panel 110. Repented wrong deeds lead to rebirth in hell for a short time. On the far right, two people are depicted, one wielding a sword pointing at a third person, who appears to be under the protection of either his son or a friend. The pair exhibit clear signs of intense anger. The central scene may represent the attackers expressing repentance for their actions. As a consequence of their misdeeds, they are reborn in hell and subjected to boiling as punishment. However, their repentance seems to hasten their release from this torment, as they are depicted emerging from the suffering. The next three paragraphs seem to lack representation at Borobudur, likely due to the highly abstract nature of the concepts described or possibly because they were absent from the text available to the sculptors. Specific rebirth. Herein, what is the deed that leads to a specific rebirth? It is said, whatever deed, when done, after declaring may this ripen in rebirth in such and such a place, and in that place he is reborn. Non-specific rebirth. Herein, what is the deed that leads to a non-specific rebirth? It is said, "Whatever deed, when done, without declaring may this ripen in rebirth in such and such a place, and he is reborn, according to his deeds." Rebirth in another country. Herein, what is the deed that has results in another country? It is said, "Whatever deed, in this life, that matures in another country, whether good or bad, and the deed that has results in another country." Happy then unhappy. What is the deed, provided with which a person is at first happy, and later unhappy? It is said, being asked for a gift here, someone first happily approves, and rejoicing gives it. But after giving he has regrets. When he is reborn amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which has great riches, great wealth, but later that wealth is lost and exhausted, so that he later is poor. Panel 111. A good deed regretted leads to wealth then poverty. Regret also influences the outcome of the actions depicted on this panel, similar to the previous one. On the far right, a nobleman is shown offering a gift to two approaching Brahmins. In a subsequent scene behind them, he is depicted again, now evidently regretting his generous act. As a result, he is initially reborn into a wealthy family, indicated by the usual symbols of prosperity. However, on the far left, he is shown living in poverty, carrying his child on his shoulders, and departing with minimal belongings. Unhappy then happy. What is the deed provided with which a person is at first unhappy, and later becomes happy? It is said, being asked, someone takes a gift, and approving of the same, then gives it to another with difficulty. But after giving the gift, joy arises later. When he is reborn amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which is poor, but later his wealth increases. Panel 112. A deed done with difficulty but rejoiced in, leads to poverty then wealth. In this scene, a couple is shown offering gifts to Brahmins, but unlike the previous panel, they rejoice in their act of generosity. The modest size of the gift underscores the challenge they faced in giving it. In the rebirth scene on the left, the man is initially depicted in poverty, sitting under the trees with his head in his hands. However, his good deed eventually brings a rich reward, as he is later shown surrounded by the customary symbols of wealth and prosperity. Happy and happy. What is the deed, provided with which a person is at first happy, and later is also happy? It is said, being asked for a gift here, someone first happily approves, and happily gives it. After giving he is also joyous. When he is reborn amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which is well off, having great wealth, great riches. Panel 113. A gift given happily and rejoiced in, leads to great wealth. Two men are depicted offering gifts to a pair of Brahmins seated beneath a tree. While it is presumed that the act is performed willingly, there is no explicit depiction of them rejoicing in their generosity. The outcome is a single scene portraying a prosperous rebirth, marked by the usual symbols of luxury, consorts, money bags, and attendants. Unhappy and unhappy. What is the deed provided with which a person is at first unhappy, and later is also unhappy? It is said, someone here is bereft of spiritual friends, and does not give a gift. But he also does not commit any wicked deed. When he is reborn again amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which is poor, that has little food and drink to enjoy. Panel 114. Unfinished panel. This panel remains largely incomplete, with minimal progress evident. However, the limited details suggest alignment with the text. On the far left, a figure resembling a poor person is visible, while just left of center, another individual kneels in worship before an approaching couple. Well off and selfish. What is the deed provided with which a person is well off but selfish? It is said, someone gives a small gift in the bowl here to someone who is virtuous, but he does not repeat the generous practice again. When he is reborn amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which is well off, having great wealth, great riches, through that particular gift. But because he does not repeat that generous practice again, his deeds become selfish. Panel 115. The person who gives a gift but does not repeat it. On the right, a man leads a group offering gifts to 4 monks seated under a pavilion. He appears to present robes, while others bring various offerings. In his rebirth, he enjoys wealth and all its symbols, but his generosity was limited to a single act. Consequently, he is depicted as miserly, refusing requests from Brahmins who approach him seeking assistance. Poor and generous. What is the deed, provided with which a person is poor but generous? It is said, someone gives many a gift here, but to animals and to those without virtue, who do not live the spiritual life. Again and again he repeats his generosity. When he is reborn amongst humans, he is poor, but because of repeating that gift he is generous. Whoever gives a gift into the bowls of those without virtue, because of that becomes poor. Well off and generous. What is the deed, provided with which a person is well off and generous? It is said, someone gives many a gift here into the bowls of those are virtuous, and he repeats the generous practice again and again. Through that, when he is reborn amongst humans, he is reborn into a family which is well off, having great wealth, great riches. And because he repeated that gift again and again he became generous. Panel 116. The person who gives a gift and does repeat it. On the right, a group of individuals assembles with various offerings for a monk seated in a pavilion, including robes, food, and incense. At the center, one of them is shown extending his generosity further by presenting a gift to a Brahmin. The rebirth scene on the left portrays a wealthy individual who continues to give generously in his current life. His consistent practice of giving has ensured both his prosperity and his generosity in this existence. It appears the original text available to the designers of the Borobudur panels may have included an additional paragraph. This likely described a wealthy individual who refrains from giving and is consequently reborn into poverty, a scenario depicted in the subsequent panel. Panel 117. The person who does not give a gift. On the far right, a wealthy man is depicted emphatically refusing assistance, extending a hand in denial while turning away from the visitors seeking help. His servant appears to be enforcing this rejection by keeping the visitors at a distance. As a consequence of his refusal, the man is reborn into poverty in his next life. He is shown sitting with his back against a tree, his wife similarly turned away from him. Their child also suffers the effects of their destitution. In front of them stand 2 impoverished musicians, further emphasizing their plight. The next 12 paragraphs from the Sanskrit text are absent from the illustrations at Borobudur. It is possible that these sections were not included in the version of the text familiar to the organizers. Alternatively, space constraints may have necessitated the omission of some material. Life exhausted, not deeds. For which person is life exhausted, but not his deeds? It is said, whatever person who, falling from hell is reborn in hell, falling from the animal realm is reborn in the animal realm, falling from the Yama world is reborn in the Yama world, falling from the gods is reborn amongst the gods. Deeds exhausted, not life. For which person are deeds exhausted, but not his life? It is said, whatever person is happy at first and later is unhappy, or unhappy at first and later happy. Deeds and life exhausted. For which person are deeds exhausted in his life? It is said, whatever person falling away from hell is reborn amongst animals, falling away from animals is reborn in the Yama world, falling away from the Yama world is reborn amongst humans, falling away from humans is reborn amongst the gods. Merits exhausted in life. For which person are merits exhausted in his life? It is said. Text is missing here. Life not exhausted, nor deeds. For which person is life not exhausted, nor his deeds, but some defilements are exhausted? It is said. The stream enterer, the once returner, the non-returner, the independent Buddha. Happy in body, not in mind. Which is the person who is happy in body, but not in mind? It is said. An ordinary person who has done merit is happy in body, but not in mind. Happy in mind, not in body. Which is the person who is happy in mind, but not in body? It is said. Whoever is a worthy one, arat, but is without merit is happy in mind, but not in body. Happy in body and in mind. Which is the person who is happy in body and in mind? It is said. The worthy one, who has destroyed the pollutants, and made merit. Happy neither in body nor in mind. Which is the person who is neither happy in mind nor in body? It is said. An ordinary person who has not done anything meritorious, with a family lineage fallen into oblivion, being bereft of food, drink and clothing, and who wanders amongst the houses, i.e., is homeless. Because of that he is afflicted with diseases like leprosy, tuberculosis, consumption, fever, jaundice, infirmity, skin disease, scab and so on, is missing hands and feet, or has loss of eyesight. Lower realms and handsome. What is the deed, provided with which, a person is reborn in the lower realms, and is handsome and pleasant, with an agreeable body, agreeable skin, delightful eyes and is good looking? It is said. Whatever person who is endowed with lust, provided with a lack of virtue and is reborn in the lower realms, including being reborn as a peacock, a parrot, a minnow, a duck, a ruddy-shelled buck. Lower realms and ugly. Herein, what is the deed, provided with which, a person is reborn in the lower realms and is ugly, with a harsh body and is unpleasant looking? It is said. Whatever person who is endowed with hate, provided with a lack of virtue and is reborn in the lower realms, like being reborn as a lion, a tiger, a crow, a hyena, a cobra, a preta, a pishaka and so on. Lower realms and undeveloped. Herein, what is the deed, provided with which, a person is reborn in the lower realms and is foul-smelling, with faculties that are crooked and undeveloped? It is said. Whatever person who is endowed with delusion, and provided with a lack of virtue, and is reborn in the lower realms, like being reborn as a muskrat, a worm, a louse, a fly and so on, like being in a body where the 20 kinds of worms are born. This concludes the section on permutations.